And we're live for a new episode of the Electrek podcast. I am Fred Lambert, your host, and as usual, I'm joined by Seth Wintrom. How are you doing today, Seth?
I'm good.
All right. This episode is brought to you by IAA Mobility Show 2023. It's coming back to Munich, and we're going to be there. Seth, myself, and Micah should be there too. So you can come say hi to us and come check out all the cool vehicles that they're going to have there. Apparently, there's going to be a few cool EV unveilings, as there usually is. There's basically the biggest European show now, a car show, I should say. It's running from September 5th to the 10th. In the show notes right now, you can click the link and get yourself some tickets. All right, let's jump right into the news, starting with this report that came out this week from Reuters. And when it comes to Reuters, in Tesla coverage, we had big issues over the last few years. They had very bad coverage of Tesla, very exclusive news that were very doubtful. However, I should note here, to be fair, the usual suspects, because there are usual suspects in terms of the reporters at Reuters that publish these questionable reports. They're not behind this one, so we should approach this with a little bit more credibility than with other Reuters report. And obviously, there's some background to it that we kind of it makes sense, huh, Seth?
Yeah, and they use sources that we're familiar with, like Recurrent and the SAE. So legitimate sources, and like frankly, as a Tesla community, I think we all kind of know that Tesla's I don't want to say gaming the system, although we did say gaming the system, but they're very optimistic is how we usually put it in their
we're talking about range here,
right? Their mileage that their vehicles get compared to other EVs, and not just there's some other EVs that are a little bit more optimistic than others, and some are very pessimistic, like Porsche with their Taycan said they'd only get 200 miles, but when that was tested, it actually got almost 300 miles. So it's just weird. Like, it's kind of weird that this isn't just standardized, and it's frankly the EPA's problem. Like, the EPA should have their own test. They shouldn't take any input from Tesla or any of the other automakers. They should just say, give me the keys to the car, let's put it on a track, let's do a test, and then we'll have a number for you. But this report came out and said that Tesla was going through the test, and they were providing numbers that were optimistic, and the EPA would come back with a slightly lower number, and Tesla would be like, okay, that's fine. There was this one incident, I don't know if we talked about it in this story, but where the EPA said the Model S did not get 400 miles of range, and Elon came back and said, well, our logs show that the door was open during the testing, or they stepped out of the car and the air conditioning was on or something. So there's all these like little things, but like frankly, it's the EPA's job to just test the car, and the automaker can come back and say something like, hey, you didn't do a test right or whatever. But frankly, it should be in their court, and it doesn't sound like it is. So the other automakers use a kind of a more conservative methodology. They use a 0.7 coefficient of like the best case scenario, where Tesla uses a 0.8 coefficient. That's
which makes a big difference. It doesn't sound like much, but like that can make it and the goal here is obviously because there's different types of range. There's the EPA range, which is the range that you can advertise, and that's not the same range that you show you in your car. It's not. So that's a big difference maker here. So it's all about just what you can advertise versus what you can do in the car. And so this part in the report here that I thought was a little bit more damning is that they couldn't confirm if Tesla was still doing that or if they stopped when they did, because they only said that they were doing that when they had the Model S and the Roadster, which
a long time ago.
Yeah, that's just a long time ago. And I was like, it's almost like never ago too, like, because you make it sounds like when they had both the Roadster and then Model S, or
yeah, that never happened.
Yeah, so probably when they meant they had only produced the Roadster, and then now they were producing the Model S, so that wasn't an issue in the Model S. Anyway, what they said is that Tesla would show you something that would resemble the advertised range at first, but once the state of charge of the battery pack would go below 50, then it would start showing you a more accurate and lower version of the range. And that I can anecdotally confirm. I've seen that, especially in my Model S. I've seen that happen where like I have a ton of range and I'm just driving and it's good, and then everything's going well, and then boom, I hit 50% and it starts being more accurate, and like I lose the first 50% a lot faster than I lose the last 50%, which makes no sense.
Yeah, and I think I remember something like that happening when I had a Model S way back in the day. And then, so the reality turns out to be, so somebody like me who drives a lot of EVs, I have like very standard routes that I drive. For instance, we go to Vermont. We have a place about 180 miles away from home. And I drive the Model Y to it. I've driven the Model X. I've driven the Model S to it. Every single Tesla out there I've driven to it. None of them make it in anywhere near 80 miles, 180 miles of range taken off. But it's up a hill. So it's often cold. There's reasons for it. But Mustang Mach-E, which has less official range than a Tesla Model Y, for instance, will get there with way more miles left on it. And that's because it has a huge battery. It's like a 92 kilowatt hour battery versus Tesla's 70 something kilowatt hour battery. But Ford could probably say, using Tesla's metrics, that it has 350 mile range car, but they don't do it. So
Yeah,
in reality,
good on them,
I guess. But like, I feel like there should be one standard for everything. Like, there's the EPA for gas mileages. I think it's one standard. So I don't know. I just wish. I think the EPA needs to do their job, and that's make everything equal. We should note that Recurrent, who's been a past sponsor of our podcast here, they actually have data from cars, so they have some really accurate numbers, and it's kind of damning. They don't see anything above 250 miles of range, even in the summertime, for a Model Y, which is supposed to have 326 miles of range. So that's 70 miles less. Now, we should note, like, Recurrent's data isn't people on trips necessarily. It's just people driving around. So, like, you're driving around, you're gunning it. You're like, you're heating the car, like, outside the house for no reason.
You're not hypermiling for sure.
Yeah, you're not doing anything like traveling. So, that's not what a typical traveler may or may not get. So there's that to consider. But it's just, it's the mileage is so unrealistic compared to what Tesla's numbers are. So I think Tesla needs to bring back their numbers. And to be fair, I guess, we did a story recently. You did a story that Tesla was dropping its numbers a little bit down to like 310 on all of its vehicles. So I don't know. I think something's happening, but like it would just be better if like a third party organization, typically one governmental organization, if it's not the EPA, something else, that would just take the car, do a test on it, come back and say this is the mileage, and the same test would apply to all cars, and there would be no kind of play there.
Yeah, that would be ideal, no doubt. Because we've been saying it for a long time. Range anxiety is not about how long of a range you get. It's about how accurate the range prediction is, so that if you know where you're going, you can get there, or you can get there and you need to stop and charge at one point. As simple as that. It's not complicated at all. And so there was a lot of things in the report, and you can go read Seth's summary. It's pretty detailed, but it seems like I was reading like the media coverage around the Reuters report, and it seems like the main thing that people were sticking on is the team in Nevada that was diverting people complaining about the range.
Well,
did you get
like,
that?
We put that so at the very end of my story. I'm like, oh yeah, this thing, like, the service department can't do anything about the range, so they should be diverting it. Why are they diverting it? Maybe that's not exactly right, but I feel like that was making something out of nothing. Like,
yeah, I guess it's Rotter's description of it. It make it sound like, have you ever seen the movie Boiler Room? The 90s movies about the like the Wolf of Wall Street. Like the Wolf of Wall Street was kind of a remake of the Boiler Room, but with the story of what's this the dumbass's name, like the Wolf of Wall Street, like the Belford is his name. But this whole idea of like they just you want to get the sucker, you want to sell the share of the sucker. They describe it like that, and routers where like they shout when they get one of them to not get a service appointment over the range and things like that. So I guess that is kind of in bad taste, if that's really what's happening in those cases. I guess that brought a lot of people's attention, but hopefully but I don't think it's going to do much, honestly. I don't think Tesla cares now.
Nope.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they need to kind of tone down their range numbers a little bit just to get them more realistic. But I mean, they don't need great range because they have a great supercharger network. Like
that too. Yeah, there's the charging is a big part of this. All right, moving on. We have some actual data now backing whether or not Musk is latest antiques, let's call them that, are negatively affected Tesla. So Bloomberg posted this quite extensive survey of 5,000 Model 3 owners, and they questioned them about a lot of things, but the first part of the survey focused primarily on Elon and this impact on the brand. And one of the question was, out of those 5,000, so it's a big sample of owners. There's out of those 5,000, they identify some of them. They didn't name how many that have sold their Model 3 or plan on selling it, and for replacing it for another brand. So they're not upgrading to another Tesla. And they asked them the top reason why they are doing that. And the number one, surprisingly, was disapproval of Elon Musk. And at the same time, so the second one was concern about quality and service, which I think normally that's probably the number one reason for any brand that people just go away.
Right.
And it's not necessarily a bad look on the brand itself. Like, we're talking about the people that are living away. Like, if 99% of the people that keep the car are happy with the quality of service, then it's not necessarily bad. But as the reason for someone that is leaving, that's normally the top one. But the third one is unhappy with Tesla's brand perception. So at 17%. So you could basically add that to the disapproval of Elon Musk, which is at 21%, and you end up at almost half of the people quitting for perception reason, like Musk and Tesla as a whole. So that's interesting. But to the point that I just mentioned, what we need to understand here is that is a small percentage of people, because in another question in the survey, they ask people if they will consider Tesla for their next car, and 87% of Model 3 owners said yes. So of that, of those, the 20% of the people that disapprove of Elon Musk, I think that's 20% of 13% of the entire people surveyed here. So it's 1 out of 5 people that are leaving the brand, which is in itself just basically 1 out of 10 people that are buying the car that are disapproval of Elon Musk. So the bright side for Elon is that it's not a major impact on the Tesla community itself, at least. Now, of course, you could add to that the people that didn't have a Tesla and were a potential buyer of Tesla. That number could be different, and that could have a bigger impact. But on the bad side for Musk and for Tesla, now there's clear evidence that he has a negative impact on the brand with his less antiques. I don't know how to call it. Like the way I think the main one is him expressing his political views, which in itself shouldn't be bad. Like, people are allowed to express their political view, but there is, among leaders of large company that are consumer facing, there is this unwritten rule that you should shut the hell up about that stuff, because it's divisive and you don't want to devise your consumer base. It's just like simple marketing, simple brand perception. So Elon has clearly made it clear he doesn't care about that. Doesn't care at all. But maybe this kind of data the board could use this kind of weapon that maybe if he has some people around him left that are not yes men, which we discussed that before, but we have serious doubts about that. But if he does, these people could try to approach him with that kind of data and show him like, yeah, like, I know you're having fun on Twitter and all that, but is that more important than Tesla's mission? And if the answer to that is no, then maybe don't do that. And and like we all have our political views or social views and everything, and like you don't need to share that with people all the time like he does. It's strange. It's what's the word? Not zealous, but
Zealot.
yeah, like it's starting to become in that realm.
Right.
Like I don't think Elon wants to be a political pundit, and he's going in that direction. We have a quick update on the Supercharger V4. So we've been just like grabbing information as it's trickled down from the V4 because Tesla has never officially announced it. They officially announced a V3 when it came out. They had a press release that came out and all that, and a video that went into the details. V4, they actually installed some stations in Europe, and they still haven't officially announced it. They brought, we talked a few weeks ago, they brought at the Goodwood, that's right. The Goodwood show, they brought one, but it wasn't even a complete one. They didn't have we could see that they had a place for a screen for it, but now in the new image release for this construction plan for this station in the UK, you can actually see the screen that's there. So now you see it. But as part of this construction plan too, we actually have the official power output, which is listed at 350 kilowatts, so 100 kilowatt bump over the version 3. But that could be somewhat limited for this, because we also saw the electrical ratings of one of the stations that was deployed, and it was rated at 1000 volt, 615 amps, which would theoretically allow an output of up to 600 kilowatts. So this might be limited for this station in particular, or there's another limitation, we don't know. Anyway, is there anything right now that goes over 350 on the car sides? I think there's nothing, right?
Not really, not officially. I mean,
yeah.
Some like GMC Hummers are saying like 360, 370 kilowatts on
that's right, yeah.
Electrify Americas, but nothing official.
Yeah. And even that's probably for a few seconds, and then
right,
you're back up to 350, and then it goes down pretty fast. All right, this is an interesting thing here. The numbers are coming out for the first half of the year in California, and for the first time in Q2, Tesla as a brand with only 4 vehicles available has outsold Toyota in California. Toyota has been the leading brand in California for a long time. You know, the Prius, people think about California, Toyota, and then the Prius, and how it was popular there. But honestly, it was the Camry, the Corolla, and more recently, the RAV4 has been the big leader in sales in California. But now Tesla has taken over with a massive increase. And a lot of people thought that Tesla might have already like saturated the market for its vehicles in California over the years, because it's for a long time it was its own market, not anymore. Even though it's still obviously the Fremont factory is there and all that. People thought that there would be a limit to how many cars Tesla could deliver there. And last year, with the big performance that they had in 2022, in the first half of the year, they had 90,000 vehicles. But California is a big market. There's a lot of people there. It's as big as, I don't know if the economy is bigger in Canada. I think it might be bigger in Canada.
Yep.
So
more
a lot of people
too.
there. Say that again?
More populous than Canada.
Yeah, I mean, especially if you had the illegals, it's probably twice as big as Canada.
Yeah, but officially as big as Canada, and bigger than like Australia, and same size as some European places.
Yeah, I mean, Canada is 35 million, I think. Maybe less than that. So it's not that big. It's big, just the population. But yeah, this quarter, last quarter, Tesla sold 69,000 vehicles in California to Toyota 67,000, and the percentage increase are interesting too. So Tesla was up 62% during the quarter, and Toyota was down 8.3%. So because of the up on Tesla and the down on the Toyota side, they were able to beat Toyota this quarter. They haven't beaten them for the year to date just yet. Tesla is sitting as 123,000 units to Toyota's 133,000 units, but they're only 10,000 units away. So they could potentially outsell Toyota in California for the whole year. And obviously, what's interesting about it is that one of the main reasons Tesla is selling so well in California are the incentives, obviously, which are stronger there. But as a whole, California is a preview of what's going to happen in the whole rest of the U.S. as the incentive become less relevant, and also there are incentives in the rest of the U.S. too. We've been talking about the federal tax credit all year, but even if you remove all the credit, as the cost of electric vehicles come down and the charging network is being deployed, and soon enough, like 99% of the people that buy vehicles will make no sense for them to not buy an electric vehicle. And that's what we're seeing in California, because that boost from Tesla has just brought up the BEV market share to 21.1%, up from 16% last year. So that's a 5% increase in a year. That's huge. Well, in the first half of a year, but the difference is a year. And it's interesting to look at HEVs and PHEV too, because they are flat. And if you look at the chart for BEV, it's going straight up. So I think it's clear that people are seeing the hybrids as more of a traditional technology, and the battery electric vehicle is the future, and people want the thing that's going to be there for a while, not that transitional, dipping your toe in electric propulsion type of category.
Yeah, I would also mention that Rivian is doing kind of nicely. They're at 22.25 for the quarter, which is up a lot from 870 in the first quarter. But like that's starting to get close to one of their competitors, Land Rover, which is at 2,900. It's kind of close to Volvo, which is at 3,500. So if Rivian continues to double year over year, they're going to also be kind of catching up to their competitors.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to be able to keep doubling with just the R1S and
That's
R1T. The next generation vehicle are going to be important, but yeah, I mean, if you look up 155%, obviously last year in Q2 it wasn't. They didn't have the production capacity that they had now, but yeah, in the comparison to Land Rover, probably is the best one. It's very, very much higher end, though. I don't know if I don't have the other numbers here. All right, Tesla is bringing its tribal land loophole. And I wasn't sure about the word tribal, but apparently that like the Mohegan Sun, the logo land, that's what they call it. So I was calling it native land, but also that doesn't make that much sense either. But tribal land is apparently the correct word here. So Tesla has been using this loophole in New Mexico for a few years, where direct sales law ban direct sales from manufacturer to consumers of vehicles. And because we've discussed this before, but it's because of outdated laws that try to protect the franchise dealership against the automakers, which makes no sense to apply those laws to automakers that never had franchise dealership. But some franchise dealership associations specifically and dealerships bonding together put pressure on the legislation to apply those laws to Tesla, Rivian, and Lucid, and all the other automakers that are trying to go direct to consumers, and they feel like they have the right to do so because they never give anyone any franchise, so they're not competing against people that invested into their brand. And New York was the latest one a few months ago. Tesla has stores in New York and service centers in New York, but they are limited on the number of them because instead of getting the law changed, they had an exception built into it. But now, so they can expand more unless they do it on tribal land, which they did earlier this year. And Connecticut has been probably one of the toughest nut to break yet. The older Tesla fans have been following this story for a while will remember Tesla's continuous effort at the legislative level to change things. And every time they were shut down by the local politicians, backed by the local association, I'm going to name them because they are a very hateful bunch. Connecticut Automotive Retailer Association, this SARA, C-A-R-A, CARA, whatever. If you remember them, they went above and beyond to their fight against Teslas and direct sales. They had, back in the day, they had a website that would trash Tesla. They built an entire website that was like Stop Tesla, and it was just like a bunch of like they had Tesla crash on there and everything. It was just a hit job of a website. And then when Tesla, to make ways into Connecticut, what they decided to do, they decided to launch this concept back then that they had of a Tesla gallery, which was not a store, not a service center, so it doesn't infringe on the direct sales laws. And they had cars there, and all they would do is they would call it educate the public on it. So they would talk to the public about the cars, all the features, which is not illegal to do. They would just not discuss pricing or buying or delivery and all that. They would have to go on the website after that and do that themselves, and then order the car and take delivery in another state. That's what's been happening in Connecticut for years. But CARA, whatever, the Karen of Automotive Retailer Association, they went as far as sending, what do they call it? Secret buyers? Is that the term? Yeah, secret shoppers. So the idea of secret shoppers is that they are shopping, they act as shopper, but that's not their true intention. In that case, their intention was to make the Tesla staff talk about pricing so that they could shut them down after, which they did. Insane. So now Tesla is bringing the tribal land loophole to Connecticut, and they did it through a deal with the Mohegan Sun. So actually, even though I've never been in Connecticut in my life, I was familiar with the Mohegan Sun because it's the home of Bellator MMA. Or, well, maybe not the home, but one of the main place where they do MMA or they do their event. So it's kind of a middle of nowhere a little bit, but it's a nice.
Yeah, huh? It's not in the middle of nowhere. I mean, Connecticut's a fairly densely
small,
populated.
So you can get there probably from anywhere in Connecticut within an hour. I guess it's like in the east side of Connecticut, but it's not, like there's no big town or city next to it. There's the Mohegan Sun, though, obviously, which is an attraction into itself. So I guess if you want to take delivery of your Tesla in Connecticut, you can make it like a trip out of it, and you go to the Mohegan Sun, you go gambling a little, go see a show, go see a Bellator event, and then you pick up your Tesla and you drive home.
Sounds like a fun weekend.
Yeah. I'm sure they have services to Mohegan Sun to like drive people in, like they have buses like to come there and everything. Most
they do have
casinos that those. Those casinos are kind of not in very popular area. They do that, so you can probably grab one of those for cheap and drive back with your Tesla. So yeah, they have a deal with them that they're gonna build a showroom within the Mohegan Sun is it's like a giant complex that they have there with an arena and a casino, a hotel, tons of restaurants and all that. So and shops. So one of the shops is going to be a Tesla shop, and they're talking about test drive, about delivery, and they are not talking about service center, which that is a somewhat of a concern because like part of it is the goal is to have service in Connecticut. Now there are thousands of Tesla owners in Connecticut that don't have service in the States, which is insane. They are not saying that it's going to be a service center just yet, but they did mention a deal between Tesla and the local tribe to educate to train people to be technicians. So I would assume that the goal is eventually that, and they can do whatever they want on that tribal land. So they can build a service center. I just don't know because of the distance of and everything if it makes sense to have it there. Because it's not like Tesla can have a fleet of mobile technician there. Because as soon as the mobile technician leave the tribal land, they are technically criminals. I don't know about criminals, but it's illegal what they're doing. That's kind of nuts, right?
Well, there's a lot of layers and nuts on there. First of all,
Yeah.
like it shouldn't be illegal to sell cars, uh, especially electric cars. And obviously we shouldn't have taken all that land from the native people here. So you just got like layers and layers and layers of bad
Yeah.
stuff. It goes way back.
Yeah, and the fact that the white people were nice enough to give some backup to them
Yeah,
now enables Tesla to get around this stupid law. It's you're right, the entire thing is screwed up pretty bad.
right.
Oh, that's funny. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, it's
I love how
honestly funny.
reparations take the form of like you can sell cigarettes and for tax free and have a casino, and
Yeah,
we'll call it even.
I mean, Mohegan Sun, they look like they ran with it though. Like it's
Yeah,
not
they did
a
quite well.
small reservation casino they have there. It's like,
Yeah, but
uh,
unfortunately, it's like a few. Obviously goes to Native Americans, but a few Native Americans are doing quite well, and then
mhm,
like 98% of them are quite poor. So it's
yeah. All right, moving on, we're going to talk about this weird, strange Cybertruck with a Ford F-150 wrap on it. So it was first spotted last weekend. A picture leaked from a Tesla shop with this Cybertruck that you could see with this wrap job that makes it. I say make it look like they try to make it look like a F-150 line, well, not necessarily Lightning, but a Ford pickup truck, basically. Uh, it was spotted again yesterday or the day before that in Livermore, California, and it was on the back of another truck being transported around. And you could see the truck a lot better on those pictures, and we are kind of baffled by it. We don't know what the goal is. I mean, I guess the goal is this. What we're doing right now is to get to talk about it. I guess it's either that or maybe Tesla is filming some content with it, maybe for like some promotional videos.
yeah. I feel like we're gonna find out at some point what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, I feel like Elon would have commented on it already if it was
Right.
just to get it to talk about and everything. I think there might be more to it. Tesla might be some filming some content, maybe they do a tug of war again with the Cybertruck and an F-150, and then once the Cybertruck wins, they're like the only thing that can beat a Cybertruck is a Cybertruck F-150 and something like that. I don't
That's
know.
good. That's good media right there.
Yeah, I'm just spitballing. Like, yeah.
I
Uh,
actually talked to a Ford person, and because they were like, "What the hell's going on here?" And I was like, "I have no idea. What do you know?" And I was like, "You should have Farley tweet out that at that like imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, or something like that." And they're like, "Yeah, we already pitched that. It's not going to happen. Like we're not engaging."
yeah.
But they're aware of it, and they're weirded out by it just as much as we are.
Maybe there is the unveiling of the Cybertruck, and like there was some concern that Elon mentioned about Tesla having a Cybertruck and it not being popular because of his radically different design from other pickup trucks. So maybe Elon goes as a joke. He goes,
Look,
"I
it's
mean, if you
it's
want it to look like a normal pickup truck, just put this wrap on it, and voila." My bad. I don't know. Again, just spitballing. But this
yeah.
is a weird thing that it's around. So it's the latest Cybertruck that we've seen with a wrap on it. We've seen the other two with the different camouflage on, but more than two, but two different camouflage one. And the speculation around it is either those are release candidates with the final design that Tesla wants to hide the design as best as they could, or this is basically just Tesla testing out wraps on the Cybertrucks, because wraps are going to be the only way that you can change the color of the truck and make it look different than the stainless steel finish that literally every Cybertruck out there is going to have. And
Okay.
they plan to make over 300,000 of them a year. So you're going to see, and most of them are going to be for the US and Canadian market. So you're going to see a lot of those around. All right. Before moving on, a quick word about IAA Mobility show out in Munich, the future of mobility.
Yeah, so we are again going to Munich for the IAA Mobility Show. We were there 2 years ago. We had a great time. There's a ton of new. There, it's not just cars. Like I think in the past it used to be called the Frankfurt Auto Show. Obviously, it was in Frankfurt. They moved it to Munich. They got a lot of protesters and stuff. So they were like, okay, let's try to make this a little bit more walkable city friendly, green friendly, all the other stuff. So they invited us, and now it's better. But it's just a great show because they have all the cars and electric vehicles that you hope to see. But then they also have bikes. Specialized is one of the bigger sponsors. They have like whole just like monster uh, rooms of the show.
Hangers.
Yeah, the hangars of the show floor that are dedicated to mobility, like scooters and bikes and electric bikes and all the other stuff. So, and what's even cooler is they have this testing area where you can just grab a bike or a weird, like they have a bunch of velomobiles and like little cars and all kinds of other stuff to test. And then you can also test, like you go there, say you're thinking about getting an EV. There's like 20 different EVs you can test. I think we got our first look at the Ioniq 5 there, maybe. And I know we got a crazy ride in the Mercedes EQS where they took us on the Autobahn. We went like, I don't know, fast as we could
have some
go.
videos of it. I don't remember how fast we went. But...
And then we got to try the level 3 autonomy from Mercedes. So just like tons of fun stuff to do there. If you're in the area or thinking of, if you have some free time in early September, it's worth going. And then Oktoberfest is directly after that. So maybe extend your stay a little bit, have some beer, enjoy yourself. But we'll be there. Grab some tickets. The links are in the show notes. And hope to see you there.
Yes, sir. All right, we're going to have a few more news to discuss before we jump into the comment section. If you guys want us to discuss something else about the EV community that we didn't touch today, you can put it in the comment section right now. Or if you have any question for us, we're going to have some time to answer them. So you can put them in the comment section right now. Also, if you do enjoy the show, please give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe, and all that good stuff. It takes a second to do, and it helps the show more than you think. If you're listening on your podcast app right now, like on the Apple Podcast, you can give us a 5-star review. That takes a second to do. It's free, and it helps the show a ton. I'm serious. So if you do enjoy the show, you can do that. It's helpful. Moving on, GM confirmed officially, they've been teasing it for a few months now, but they officially confirmed that they are bringing back the Chevy Bolt on the Ultium platform. So even though the Chevy Bolt is technically going away at the end of the year with the current version, which is basically the same as it was since 2016, other than a few small changes. They announced earlier this year that they're going to kill it without saying that there's going to be something else. There was some pushback on that, including from people on this podcast. And now they confirm it is coming back on the Ultium platform. So Boltium, that's you, huh? Said, or is that what they're calling it?
That's what I'm calling it. Yeah.
Okay. So you're the local Chevy expert here. Did they really reveal anything about it, or did you just confirm that it's coming? Right?
They released almost nothing about it except for this picture right here with the peeling off the sticker. I imagine it's gonna be called something else, like Bolt U or something. I don't know. We can't really tell what that next thing is gonna be.
Maybe they dropped the EV. Now, do you need EV anymore for a car? Like all cars are going to be electric. So and there's no Bolt not electric too.
Right.
So and I guess the Bolt at first they put the EV to differentiate from the Volt because people was like Volt. What did you say? Bolt or Volt?
Right.
Which is dumb because no one was using the EV to talk about the Bolt too. So and now the Volt is gone. So I guess you just call it the Volt.
Yeah. But there is a letter after the Bolt there, so I don't know what that's going to be.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that teaser. Okay.
But so I did a post on 5 things that it needs. Obviously, the easiest thing is the fast NACS charging. Like that's a no-brainer.
Which sounds like it's confirmed already.
Yeah, I mean it's going to be Ultium, so Ultium's charge quite fast, and GM has said they're going to go to the NACS charger for all vehicles 2015 or whatever, or sorry, 2025. So it's kind of a done deal, but it needs to get that. And then there's some other stuff like, it could be all-wheel drive as an option for people with snow, or it could be rear-wheel drive, make it more of a hot hatch. I think that would be kind of cool. I think marketing-wise, GM needs to drop the idea that this is some way a SUV or CUV. It's a hatchback.
Which going to be easier to do once they have the Blazer and
Right,
the Equinox and
and
all that in their lineup.
yeah. So they have 2 other SUVs in the space. They don't need a third, so drop the BS. Also, I think maybe this decision came about. I don't know this for sure, but it seems kind of interesting that the Volvo EX30 came out with almost the exact same specs as the Bolt, and people flipped their lid for that one, including myself. I thought that was going to be a really good car. And it, it's got to be like the engineers at Chevy had to be like, hey, we have this car already. We've had it for like 6 years. We just haven't done any, good marketing for it. So why don't we, continue to build this car and compete against this thing that seems like everybody loves? And it's the Volvo brand, which is probably a little bit different, but it's going to be made in China, which will be interesting. The Bolt will be, obviously made or likely made in the U.S. Maybe in Mexico. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then
Canada. Why not Canada?
Yeah, Canada, of course. And then things like CarPlay, Android Auto. Obviously, GM made what some would say boneheaded decision to take CarPlay and Android Auto out of their EVs starting next year. I think they're going to have to backpedal on that. It just seems like even if you don't believe that they need to do that, or if you believe that they don't need to do that, a lot of people won't buy a car that doesn't have CarPlay, Android Auto, that isn't a Tesla or Rivian. So why not just put it in there? And if your software is so good, GM, people will use it over CarPlay and Android Auto.
Yeah.
So just give them the choice. And
I haven't been in a GM car in a moment now, so I don't know. I don't have a clear idea of their user interface, but from what I remember, it's just stuck in the 90s basically. So
yeah,
you have, unless they say that because they have something coming out that's insane, but are you gonna put all your chips on that? I don't think so. And
no, basically what they're saying, hey, we're gonna beat Google and Apple at software. You're not. You're I would say even Tesla and Rivian haven't beat Google and Apple in their software. You can do more with a good CarPlay or Android Auto wireless system than you can often with those things. And then I think there was one last thing, but I can't remember what it was. If you scroll down a little bit, come on.
I'm giving you 3 guesses. It's a good one. It's your best one. It's your best one. It's the one. It's the one that would have the big. It's the one less likely to happen, but the one that would have the biggest impact.
Come on, man. Oh, the dealers. Oh, and I was going to add something to that. That's so crazy. So yeah, dealers.
By the way, people wrote this article a day and a half ago.
Dude, I got a lot going on, man. I'm going to Japan soon. A lot of stuff. Yeah, but the dealers, one of the pain points is obviously that. I think Ford's doing a good job with dealers. So take some notes from Ford. DC fast chargers, make EVs a separate side of the business, and then
pricing to the pricing structure that Ford is trying to do, that try to force pricing on the dealers, but that's so hard to do.
Right, how do you do it? I don't know. Figure it out. There's got to be a way. And by the way, you're also proving, the dealers are proving why they shouldn't exist, because they're just adding a layer of gouge to your pricing. So
but at the same time, we see they shouldn't exist. They made themselves into something that shouldn't exist. But we have to remember too, the reason they exist is because automakers needed them, and they couldn't support with service and sales and deliveries this giant expansion that they thought it wasn't possible, really, what Tesla did, and expand like that and you could argue that it's not perfect with Tesla too, because they need a lot more, and their deliveries are growing a lot faster than the number of service centers and shops. But they are the one that invested into building their service network for them. It's just that since then, probably because of those direct sales law, they sort of sat on that original investment and all right, we have you now, automakers, because you needed us. We were there when you needed us, and now we reap the rewards and take advantage of consumers in the meantime.
Yeah, I don't know the quick answer to that, but they really could do a lot better. And I will say, like, so I've been to a Chevy dealer 3 times for bolts. One was 6 years ago with my original Chevy Bolt. That was pretty bad. I went to over the phone. I dealt with a dealer to get my mom a bolt. That was like probably the worst one. And then locally here in New York, where they're selling a lot of bolts, I had a pretty good experience. So,
no, yeah, they're not all bad.
Yeah, they're not all bad.
Yeah, but they're not consistent at all. So you can have a great experience one place and not a terrible one there. So a quick one here on the tease, a new electric sports car coming later this year. So we have a teaser image here, but we don't have a lot of details on it. It was confirmed to car in Britain, but apparently it is coming to the North American market under the Acura brand. So maybe we're gonna get some kind of Acura electric supercar coming, which would be surprising.
Like an NSX, NSX or something.
Yeah, something like that. That would be quite something. Surprising a little bit from Honda, which has been kind of a lagger in the electric space, like most of their Japanese automaker peers. But switching from whatever small EV portfolio they have now to kind of a high-end supercar would be interesting, or maybe just a smaller sports car, less expensive. No. This is interesting. Volkswagen took a stake in XPeng in China, and they plan to develop 2 electric vehicles with them. So XPeng has been known for, at first they were known as the Tesla copycat, because they literally copied everything Tesla, including their website and their software, and hired the autopilot. Tesla is in a lawsuit with an engineer that XPeng hired that Tesla claims stole the autopilot source code. And then the founder of XPeng even confirmed that he based a lot of the company on Tesla and the fact that Tesla opened their patents and everything. So it's interesting that Volkswagen wants to get involved with them. Not that it's because they're bad or anything like that, but because Volkswagen has been the one providing the technology, the Ford deal that they have in Europe, like where they build a MEB for Ford. And now it sounds like it's going to be the other way around here in China, with XPeng as being the base. However, other than somehow Tesla, which I don't know, we barely know how they did it, we have to partner with a local company in China to do it. So it's not that surprising. But in this case here, did they mention an actual joint venture, or? Because they're investing hundreds of $1 million in the company itself, taking like a 5% stake in it.
I imagine they say they're going to supplement their MEB platform in China with new XPeng partner.
Yeah, I imagine it sounds like XPeng would produce vehicles under the Volkswagen brand or something new. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, the cooperation is going to be between Volkswagen and its existing joint venture, which is with FAW.
Yeah, and there was some talk that Volkswagen was losing some market share in China, so maybe this will boost it a little bit.
I mean, consolidation in the auto industry is nothing new. Like, it happened a lot before EVs, but it's interesting when those deals are literally about EVs, like in the case of XPeng. An electric Mazda Miata.
Finally.
When I say that, do I get some people excited? I'm pretty sure I do, but calm yourself a little bit here, because we're talking about an electrified Mazda Miata. So what kind of automakers in 2023 use the term electrified again, which means nothing? Like, it could mean a hybrid, could mean a plug-in hybrid, it could be battery electric vehicles, we don't know. So Mazda confirmed that the next generation of the Miata MX-5, which is, well, I think MX-5 is what they call it in Europe, I think, maybe. I don't know. Will come in 2026 and will be electrified. Now, The only thing that's getting us a little hopeful, because Mazda has been nothing in terms of electric, but I mean, they have the compliance car that they've been selling, but that's about it, is that 2026, would you be planning to launch a electrified non-battery electric vehicle in 2026?
No,
Yeah. So
bad
it is
idea.
a little bit worrying that they use that term again. But at the same time, it's like if you're launching a new generation Miata in 2026, it has to be electric, doesn't it?
I mean, from my standpoint, yeah, obviously they're on a different time scale over there in Japan, but maybe by saying electrified, you cover a couple bases. Maybe they'll have an EV version, a hybrid. I don't know. When they say electrified, it usually means like they're going to do something really stupid. Like yeah, there's that one vehicle that doesn't have batteries but has an electric motor, and the gas just runs a generator
Yeah.
that powers like that. I think that's a Nissan or something. But like when I hear electrified, I think of cockamamie stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
E-Power, I think it was called Nissan E-Power.
Right.
Anyway, it's coming. Hopefully, because I mean, the 2026 they still have time technically because there's nothing else in the all electric market right now that is a two-door sports car that is fully electric, and it's not a supercar. Like it's not $100,000+ vehicle, because the Miata, that's what people like about it. It starts under $30,000.
Yeah.
Does it
I
still
mean,
start under $30,000 now in this day and age, though, where like the average new
I
car
don't know.
sales price is like $48,000?
I don't know. But there is the Mini Cooper, I guess, the 2-door, but that's a
Yeah,
hard
but it's
knock.
not really a sports car.
They would like to think that they're a sports
Yeah,
car.
they like
All right.
Miata, like the Miata, like you say, Miata, and then what's the BMW that they have too, like the
The Z1 or whatever.
Z4, I think.
And then there's like some smart cars out there. But yeah, there should be more. And obviously Tesla has their Roadster, but
That's gonna be a $250,000 car.
right.
So.
All right. So Ford had a earnings call this week, and I think today actually. And what are your thoughts on comments from Ford that EV adoption is slower than expected? I would say probably maybe slower than expected for Ford, not for everybody else.
And also within the current macroeconomic context too, that affects all car sales, including electric ones. So I don't think that's. I think it's a good excuse right now for an automaker like Ford, which is having some difficulty transitioning. They are using that as an excuse, and Farley was kind of open about it. It was like, this is kind of good for us that it's slow because we're losing money on those cars. So
Right.
like it was like, as if this can be slower until like the next generation stuff is coming where we can make some money on them, we're fine with it. So yeah, they're gonna lose like I think 2.5 or even more on billion on their electric division this year.
Yeah.
Which is less than what Rivian is going to lose this year.
True.
So in perspective, that's interesting.
All right. AI says, couple of anecdotal evidence. I know someone who votes Democratic and is very concerned about climate change, but yet unwilling to spend their money to buy an electric car as it is deemed too expensive. Well, I guess.
Well, that's normal. That's normal.
Yeah.
Like I mean, unless they're buying, like they say that, and then they buy just as
brand new,
like a $40,000-$50,000 car from another brand, and that's guys are like, if you have, but so to put it in perspective here, I always ask them, are you someone who buy a new car? Are you in that bracket or type of person that buys new cars? If you're in that bracket, yes, you're most likely going to want to go electric. But if you're not, if you're buying a used car, which is most people, then yes, it's your choice are extremely limited if you want to go electric. So it makes sense for them to have this kind of reaction.
Yeah, like, so they continue. Also driving around neighborhood, somebody has a climate action now sign, but notice they just bought a new ICE car.
Okay, well,
so,
that's
not good.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the place maybe where you get your electricity from fossil fuel, it's not as bad. Like But at the same time, if they have a house or something, they might as well invest in solar. It's financially viable now.
All right. Rene Pouliot
René Pouliot.
says, do you see Tesla selling an OS operating system for EVs? The reason I say that is that Jim Farley explained how it was impossible for them because each supplier has its own software control. I don't see that specifically, particularly because Ford hired away one of Tesla's main tech people not too long ago in Field. What's his name?
Well,
Doug Field.
I think he's like he mentioned Farley as an example here, but I think he's talking about the broader market as a whole, like Tesla saying OS.
I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to shimmy somebody else's OS into your vehicles.
I mean, there's Android Auto now,
Right.
Like the actual OS of Android, not the. So what's the Android CarPlay thing?
It's like Android for automotive. It's the worst naming situation.
But Apple now has its own too.
Right.
It's not launching just yet, but it's coming next year, I think, or something
right.
like that.
I think
So yeah, I mean, I can see Tesla getting into that business too, honestly.
It would actually make sense, but like, do you really want one of your competitors to own your OS in your car? I feel like that would be a suicide wish.
Yeah, definitely. But then there it looks like the door is slowly like opening with like the Supercharger network. One major OEM talking about FSD. Like, it's not impossible that you see some automakers maybe just relying on their manufacturing capability and just giving that. I'm pretty sure that the plan A for all of them is like, let's own the software.
Right.
But then when plan A fails every year for 10 years, you have to go to plan B. So I think maybe Tesla could be some people's plan B, some automakers' plan B.
All right. Now we're talking about range. The range on my Model Y Performance is about 15% less than stated. They should rate all of these at 70 miles per hour. I mean, not everybody drives 70 miles per hour. Not everybody. That's why they just need to have one standard. Figure out what it is. Maybe it is a 70 mile per hour thing. Just drive it around a track at 70 miles per hour, and when it stops, that's the range. I don't know what it is, but it should just be equal for everybody. All right, AI is back. I feel like unless government officially bans ICE cars, it will be a very slow go on a voluntary basis, and the earth is sizzling. Hopefully it becomes so obvious to people. I think once your buddies and your parents and your kids get EVs and you drive them around, it's kind of like, maybe I should just get one of these. Better in every way. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, there's going to be some old out like that, but
yeah, those people are going to die off too. I mean, kids aren't buying internal combustion engine vehicles, I don't think.
I mean, and to his point, there are some government doing that already, but I think their timeline are all longer than just the consumer mind shifting.
Right. All right. This container ship EV fire is very suspicious. I know Jamie did a story on that. Do we have anything recent on that?
I mean, from what I understand from Jamie's story is that there was some misreporting at first about what the Coast Guard said about the fire that led some media outlets to believe that the fire started with the electric vehicles. But my understanding is that this container ship is mostly, like a vast majority of them, is gasoline vehicles and then a few EVs. And the Coast Guard said something that believed that people were the fire started with the EVs, but apparently we don't know that at all right now. So I don't know. Maybe it did, maybe it did not. But
yeah, there'll be a post-mortem on it at some point, and maybe we'll find out. I mean, when the whole thing's just on fire, it's hard to tell where it started. Crimson Decade talking about range. This is why I won't buy any Tesla EV without a 500-mile range, like the Cybertruck, which we don't know if it'll have a 500-mile range. Doubtful with the aerodynamics of that thing. Since I'll get something over 300 real miles, I guess he's saying.
First of all, you don't even need 300 miles.
Right.
So I mean, maybe Crimson, you have some kind of driving habits that require you to drive 300 miles every day, but I somehow doubt it. Yeah, we talked about that a lot, though.
Yep. All right. Thanks for the disclaimer about Reuters reporter and EV coverage. I thought that was a fair article. Why not use the percent and not the estimated range? That is not gamed right. Yeah, I mean that would be a thing, but I don't think percentage solves range anxiety. Like if you have 32% of your battery and you have 100 miles to drive, like you got to do a lot of math there. Like I don't know if that's gonna help people. I mean, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I understand what Spikes is saying here. Maybe that would work for some people, but yeah, I think I would personally, I would always want to see the mileage left. I think that's what makes the most sense to me.
Yeah, and
But yeah,
something we didn't talk about that Tesla actually knows probably better than any other automaker how much
mhm.
real range you have. Like if you map to somewhere, it will tell you. What in my experience, it's been incredibly accurate how far you're going to get, and it's never as much as the battery meter says. So
Yeah.
you use that energy app. It knows like hills and altitudes and curves and
Mhm.
all that, weather.
Yeah, they
It's
need to match that to your battery after that. Like
right.
it needs to work together. But he's right for that though. For that, the percentage of that takes care of that discrepancy. Like I
Right.
have the percentage of my battery showing, and then I have what my navigation system is saying.
Yeah. All right, let me get back in here. Are you guys planning to come fully charged live Vancouver in September? Yeah. I don't know when that is. I don't think so. We get a lot of emails from them, and I don't know if I read all of them. So sorry about that. If they want to send us plane tickets, Fred will go. Actually, Vancouver
Yeah,
is a lovely place.
yeah, I loved it there.
I'm sure it's going to be a great
I'm
show.
literally completely at the other side of the country.
The 300-word report on Tesla range initially started with a customer complaining, and that customer ended up understanding and agreeing with Tesla. Big storm and a glass of water.
Yeah, I have to agree that part of that report had a lot of comments from Tesla owners, and a lot of them made no sense. Like they were like, "Oh, my range is going down." That's the thing. Is like, well, you're driving the car right now. It's like, yeah, but it makes sense. It's going down.
Yeah, and the driver they were talking about in particular was getting 150 miles out of his
Uh,
300, but he was driving at like 90. He was driving
okay.
quite fast, and it was like below freezing.
Hmm.
So like that's just what happens. Like
Yeah,
that's reality. And so I think finally when he was like, okay, let me ask around, and oh yeah, that seems
yeah.
right.
People need to find that sweet spot when it comes to speed, because it makes a difference. I like to drive at like 119 kilometers an hour. I'm not sure exactly what it is in miles, but I see a giant difference when I'm like 119 and 110. Like that's, and 110 is here in Quebec. It's still 10 over the speed limit, but we have like a weird thing where like you think it's kind of okay to drive 20 over the speed limit. Like,
Right.
dumb thing.
Um, yeah, it's weird because my neighbor, for instance, got his Tesla, and he was driving it with a roof rack in the winter at like 70 miles per hour. And he's like, something's wrong, like something's broken. And I was like, why? And he's like, I can't get 300 miles out of this thing. I'm like, I'm amazed you got like to where you were going, let alone anything, because you put all those things on there, it's not going to go well. All right. If we do go to the Vancouver, what is it? The Vancouver Electrek could make it an event with the Tesla clubs, Ontario, Quebec,
It's
and
not.
yeah,
Well, I think maybe Renee's confusing it. It's like it's not a hard event. We don't have any event.
yeah, it's not our event.
It's a fully charged.
Um, but yeah, like if we're, I don't even know when it is. I know we're going to be at IAA in September,
Yeah.
so I don't know
Now
if
we
that.
have a lot of things coming up towards the end
Yeah,
of the year. I'm going to Japan. There's a lot. Seth is going to Japan next month. I'm going to Japan in November, October. No.
yeah, and we hear that there's like going to be another event in Germany in October, so
Mm-hmm.
busy times. Jonathan Root, while I won't sell my Tesla because of Elon, I won't buy another.
Well, that's the same. That goes into the same category that we're talking about. That's
Yeah.
based on that survey.
All right, Tesla sales in California may be due part to incentives, but the exorbitant price of gasoline is a major disincentive to purchase an ICE vehicle. That's a good point. It's quite expensive in California to drive ICE. If Tesla made misleading claims about their car's range and Tesla customers are expecting the range on their car they spent money on, I think it's valid to criticize the diversion team. We talked about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, however, electricity sales are also double or more depending on time and region. And if the area offers nighttime charging plans, some places pay 30 to 40 cents per kilowatt, not 14 cents like the Midwest. Yeah, it's like places like where I live, charging at night is almost free compared to the daytime charging. So it really pans out for EV owners. Perhaps the goal is to illustrate the F-150 and Cybertruck are the same size.
Are they?
They're relatively similar.
Yeah, they're pretty close, but maybe. I don't think.
All right, question. Does Tesla monkeying with their range indicator lead to unnecessary range anxiety for their owners just so drivers can feel good looking at big number when finally charged? So, like I said, when you're a Tesla owner for a while, you don't even look at the battery meter anymore.
Mhm.
You look at that app and you plug in where you're going and it'll give you a pretty good idea. Like the maps and the energy app will be a much better use. And then
But I think to answer his question, it's not. I mean, that might be the result of it, but the goal of Tesla was not to make them feel good when they look at the big number. It was to advertise
right
that number.
to sell a car.
Yeah.
Good news, Fred. Canada's population recently passed 40
Wow.
million.
Well, we
people.
have a lot of immigration in the last 2 years too. So like, it's sure not babies that are growing that fast. But it's good. I'm happy. More people in Canada. We have space for it. We have plenty of space.
Yeah, you have a lot of space, especially if you like the cold. All right, rich tier people concerned about range anxiety. Set your battery display to % and don't worry about it again.
Yeah.
Like
Seems
I said,
to be a common.
that's great, but like if you got 200 miles to go, the percentage isn't going to help. I mean, it can help if you want to do a lot of math in your head,
Yeah.
but most people don't. There's a Tesla service center in Milford, Connecticut, pretty much on the other side of the state from Mohegan Sun. Yeah, that's right on the New
Oh.
York border. I don't know how they got away with that or
Yeah. I
whatever.
wasn't aware.
Um,
Oh, maybe if they like just do service, it's like not. They're
yeah,
not
maybe it's
allowed
just
to.
service, but I know that like the Mount Kisco Tesla place does a lot of business with Connecticut people. That's kind of over the border. Yeah, it's so silly because like some of the first Tesla Superchargers were in Connecticut as well on the East Coast. Like Connecticut is kind of on board with EV stuff, but that dealer thing is really a pain. Infinity Boy says VW bought a piece of XPeng. We talked about that. Is this how slow-moving legacy automakers, Honda, Toyota, will navigate their transition into EVs? Sit back and buy an established startup. Who's next? NIO? I mean, I guess it gets you there.
I don't know if I haven't been following them on the stock markets, but I think they're expensive a bit. Like it's, yeah. You have to look at these startups. These well, I don't know if you can call them startups anymore, but these EV companies, and look at their market cap, and sometimes they are bigger than some of those legacy automakers. So it's not merger maybe, but not an acquisition.
All right, moving on. Your thoughts on 7 auto giants unite to build
Yeah,
universal network?
Just realized that we didn't talk about that.
Yeah, we probably should talk about that.
I don't know. I like when I pull up all the articles for the show to discuss, I go through literally all the articles that we wrote this week, and I put the one that is significant. And this one, I mean, if I have seen it, I would have put it. I must have scrolled right past it. But yeah, it's. Whoop. Am I still here?
You're back.
Okay. I like for a second. It's BMW, GM, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Mercedes, and Stellantis all partnering together to build a North American network of charging station. 30,000, I think was the number. Where's the number? At least 30,000 new. Sorry,
30,000, right?
Yeah, new chargers. So that's not station, that's chargers. And they're talking about both NACS and NCCS.
That's not going to happen. It's going to be NACS.
Yeah,
Unless they're building them.
probably. But I mean, in that group, only GM and Mercedes have officially announced NACS.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
So
guess they have to say that.
BMW, Honda, Hyundai, Kia, Hyundai, basically the same system like this, or all. So yeah, I mean, I would assume that was in the works too before the wave of NACS. So maybe with the announcement this week, they just like, oh, they had in NACS, but they are still internally discussing. Like, maybe you're right, and by the end of it, when this thing actually starts being deployed, it's gonna be just NACS. Anyway, it's good news. It's more charging station. Just wish it would have happened sooner, because
why?
You literally have 7 giant company partnering together to build something Tesla as right now. Like maybe they don't have 30,000 chargers in North America, but pretty close. They're not that far off, and they started doing it 10 years ago. So they have a 10-year lead on these
Also,
7 combined. It's
also, like, in the past, joint ventures don't seem to work terribly well. Like, everybody's got, committees, and so I hope what they do is spin off a company and give them some autonomy. I guess a little bit like Electrify America by Volkswagen. I also thought it was interesting. Like, Volkswagen's obviously not part of it because they have Electrify America, but Ford's not part of it either.
Yeah, Ford's not part of it. That was
weird.
an interesting one.
But yeah, more chargers better always.
Yep.
All right. Which OEM do you think is in talks with Tesla to license their software? Did we talk about this last time? I feel like we did.
Well, specifically the software, the full self-driving. So I suggested potentially Ford, but Seth wasn't sure. No.
I kind of feel like they've gotten a head start, but we'll never know.
That's my dad.
Huh?
That's my dad.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Was not a ro-ro ship versus a container ship?
Yeah, I think that means he's a logistic guy. So he's talking about like the ship that is burning right now. If it was, I think it's roll on, roll off ship. So if you just drive up the car on it, yeah, that's right. That's a good point. That probably makes a difference if you have to drive the car on them, or if they just park inside container ship. I know that I don't know the answer to that, but a lot of people are in the comments right now are discussing it. Like, there's apparently new information coming today from the shipping company that there was actually more EVs that were previously reported. Previously, it was like 3,000 cars, and only like a few dozen of them were EVs. Now it says as many as 500 of them were EVs.
Oh, wow. And they were going to Egypt or something? I
don't know where they were going.
All right. Well, hey, Mr. Lambert. All right. Sylvian.
He's a big fan of yours. He's
awesome. Sylvian says percent only works when you use the GPS with a destination. Yeah, it's a lot of, like, miles or kilometers is the easiest thing to kind of gauge.
Yeah.
All right, Matthew Fay, the ship actually had almost 500 EVs on it. Okay, that's what you just said.
Yeah,
they heard somebody broadcast that the fire started near one. That is from today. All right, we got lots of.
That's such a weird thing to say too. They started near one, but like if
that sounds
it's like near and not in it, then it's definitely not it.
That's Nicola said that. That's didn't they say like?
No, they said that a car drove by, so they probably set it on fire.
Right.
It was a little bit worse than that.
All right. Tyler Hilliard says, could you please do an article shaming Tesla into releasing their vehicle safety statistics? They are 2 quarters behind again, and I don't think they've ever released them regularly.
Well, they released them regularly for 2 years, maybe, and then they started sometimes releasing, some other times not, and then back releasing them. So I'm not sure what's happening here. I could potentially do that, Tyler. That might be a good idea, because I've been pushing for Tesla to release more data for a long time on the vehicle safety. The thing is that, I mean, I've trashed that data too, saying it's not good data. So maybe not a great way to approach this. But at the same time, I said also it's the best we have. So if we don't even have that at all, and the only way this is good, that data, is because you cannot take that data and compare it to other data because it's so bad compared to the rest. But what you can do is track that data over time and see if it is improving or if it's going down. And now if Tesla is not releasing it, it is a red flag.
Yes. Tesla has been known to release good news and not bad news.
Yeah. Sweep things under the rug.
Right. I think most of them will want to use CCS chargers, as they will have made those with the cars before 2025. Yeah, so we're talking about the big EV charger consortium will probably want. It's kind of like Chatamo now. Like, put one out for somebody. I don't know.
Yeah. It would be interesting to see if they decide, no, we go CCS, and I guess because most of them are not on board with NACS just yet officially.
I mean, maybe that's why they're doing it. Like, they're trying to be an alternative. I don't know.
I mean, it kind of would make sense, to be honest, on a competitive, like, I'm obviously not for the consumer, I'm not saying that, but on a competitive basis, it would make sense. Why? Because Tesla has already confirmed compatibility between with the CCS for CCS vehicle to go on NACS. For NACS to CCS, it's not as easy right now. I mean, there's adapters out there, but it's not as fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So if you stay CCS, you build that CCS network, then the CCS car kind of gain a little bit of an advantage of using adapters to go on the NACS, but them having their own CCS.
Yeah, and I guess you're also like, you have some negotiating power with Tesla.
Yeah.
And say, like, well, if you guys want to charge on our network, we got to be able to charge on your network too.
Yeah, there's value to that, but anyway, it's more chargers overall, at least.
Yep.
All so right, whatever bad that if they do go with different standards, whatever bad that is, it is being countered by the fact there's just more chargers overall.
All right, Mr. Turkey Neck, what do you think about Geely's small pickup? Will it come to North America? Geely obviously makes their vehicles mostly in China, so if it's coming to the U.S., it's already not going to be able to get the big EV tax credit, $7,500, and then also it gets slapped with another 27% tariff. So, I mean, that said, there are zero good small pickups EVs out here
and
now,
it doesn't look bad. I've seen it. It doesn't look bad, and I know they plan on exporting it outside of China. They confirm it, but I don't think they are talking about the North American market for all the reason that Seth just said. So I wouldn't bet on it, but they are coming. Like, I'm sure that these other automakers that are being late to the electric pickup parties are gonna want to enter it with something that's not available right now, like maybe like a Nissan or even a Toyota. Like, Toyota has a somewhat decent market share in the pickup market in the US. Nissan too, for a fact. I mean, I don't know them in by heart, but I see them around. So maybe they're gonna want to use that approach to kind of save face a little bit in the market.
All right, Robert Nothenagel says, question, could NACS actually support vehicle to X? I think we've established that it will do that.
Yeah.
And then Thomas Rose says, I think the issue is as much the software as the plug, CCS versus NACS. I have a Tesla, but when using CCS with an adapter, it's still crapshoot if it will start versus plug and go. Yeah, there's more to go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's not the ideal solution, but that's why Tesla has convinced all those automakers to adopt it, implement it in their vehicles rather than go with the adapter part. Sorry, but the adapter part is still going to be used in the meantime. I mean, and we're in a transition null period right now, obviously, which gives such a big advantage to Tesla, honestly.
Yeah.
It's wild. You can see the automakers like that have gone on board. They were like, all right, Tesla has already 60% of the market right now. So, and we are having issues like just scrapping a little bit more market shares from that. So let's just do it now. And yes, the next few years is going to be difficult, but after that, at least we're going to be on the same playing field as Tesla. But I applaud those automakers. I think they're doing the right choice here. But in the meantime, it makes like I would have a tough time buying a car right now that's not NACS. I just don't think it makes a ton of sense.
I'm actually not too worried about it.
Yeah.
You know, obviously the Chevy Bolt, like I don't charge that thing anywhere anyway. But the Rivian, you know, when the NACS adapter comes out, I will probably get one.
Yeah.
You know, but for now it works fine. Like there's plenty of chargers where I need to go. Yeah, not a big concern. All
right, everyone. We are an hour 20 minutes into this. If you're still listening right now, you're a real one. We appreciate you. You're a real electric fan. You're a real electric vehicle community member. If you can give us a thumbs up, a like, a subscribe. If you can give us a 5-star rating on your app, that makes a ton to help the show, which is a top 10 automotive podcast in the world, not in the world, in the most markets really that speaks English. Which is pretty good. We're proud of that here at Electrek. So thanks a lot for listening. It's all because of you, obviously. And we're going to see you same time next week, but probably just me, or maybe I don't have a guest. I don't know. We'll see.